You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't KIEQ on the mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't KIEQ on the mic. You can go and subscribe, cause I be on it right. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't KIEQ on the mic.
This is going to take the Bears defensive line to the next level. Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of KIEQ on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. As always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Bears fans, make sure you also do me a huge favor by also liking today's episode of KIEQ on the Mic. So Bears fans have a really interesting conversation to share with you guys right here on today's episode of KIEQ on the Mic. For the longest time, we have talked about the expectations of the Chicago Bears defense last season. The last nine games prior to the team adding a proven edge rusher in Montez Sweat, this Chicago Bears defense really soared in those final 9 games last season. The expectations are high for them to do the same thing this season. So we talked a lot about the anchor of this defense was, in fact, the defensive line starting off with Montez Sweat. And we've also talked a lot about how we could possibly looking to add to the edge rusher position, maybe bringing back Yannick Ngakoue, maybe Carl Lawson. I know we have DeMarcus Walker, Gervon Dexter coming back as well. But there's been a lot of talk about the Bears possibly adding to this defensive line. But there is a certain player coming back for year 2 on the Chicago Bears defensive line that we really need to start paying attention to, and that is defensive lineman Gervon Dexter. Matt Eberflus actually talked about Gervon Dexter and how he came back in really good shape, and he noticed that during OTAs and mini camps, they found that he was slimmer, he was moving faster. Gervon Dexter has looked really good so far in year 2 for the Chicago Bears, and they expect the same thing when he comes back to training camp. And Gervon Dexter actually talked about this because Gervon Dexter has been putting in the work. He expects a lot out of himself. Obviously, he was a second-round pick for the Chicago Bears last year. He had a decent rookie season, had 2.5 sacks. He definitely showed some flashes of why the Chicago Bears selected him in round 2 of last year's NFL draft. So the Chicago Bears are really excited for a guy like Gervon Dexter. And Gervon Dexter actually sat down with Larry Mayer of ChicagoBears.com and talked about how Bears defensive line coach Travis Smith actually challenged him to come back a different person. And he understood that to do this, he had to come back in better shape. He took those words personal from Bears defensive lines coach, and he took that personal, went out this offseason, worked his ass off, but he understood that if he wanted to take his game to the next level, he had to elevate himself and come back in track shape. He understood that he possibly couldn't do this by himself. So Gervon Dexter actually reached out to not coaches, not trainers, but 2 of his teammates in Montez Sweat and Jalen Johnson to actually help him get prepared and get in track shape so he can come back in the best shape of his life once he got back to OTAs and mini camps. This is what Gervon Dexter had to say to Larry Mayer while he sat down in an interview. Check this out, Bears fans. The day we left, Coach Trav told me, when you come back, I don't want to notice you. I don't want you to look the same, walk the same, talk the same, Dexter told ChicagoBears.com. That was his thing to me, so I made that my goal. With the help of veteran teammates like defensive end Montez Sweat and cornerback Jalen Johnson, Dexter curated a specific plan to achieve that goal while back home in Orlando, Florida. Dexter's goal was to be in track shape to ensure he could run and play a whole game. It was important for me just because that's what's expected for this team, Dexter said. And this being my second year, that's what is expected from the guys, the D-line. Coach Flus preaches the backside wins championships. So I want to make sure that I'm ready when my number is called. I wanted to make sure when I came back, I was ready to step into a role. Bears fans, first and foremost, I absolutely love hearing this type of stuff because what leadership Montez Sweat has shown, what leadership that Jalen Johnson is showing by helping a guy out like Gervon Dexter. I think they understand how big Gervon Dexter could be for this defensive line. Once again, he is coming into year 2. I feel like he had a pretty good rookie season. He definitely showed some flashes on why the Chicago Bears selected him in round 2 of last year's NFL draft. So there's high expectations for Gervon Dexter going into year 2 for the Chicago Bears defense. And I love the addition of defensive line coach Travis Smith as well. He's going to push these guys to be the best they can possibly be. And I think there's some high expectations for Gervon Dexter. And I definitely think he's definitely going to tear it up for the Chicago Bears defensive line and really take the Chicago Bears defense to the next level. And Gervon Dexter is not dumb. He understands the fundamental truth of football. Of course, you want to have that aggression. Of course, you want to dominate in the trenches. But in order to be able to do that, you have to be in outstanding shape. And it kind of doubles down on that point that in Matt Eberflus's defense, he's all about everyone running to the football, showing intensive effort, right? Intensity is what Matt Eberflus preaches in his defense here in Chicago. And he wants his guys to be able to play a full 4 quarters. That's why it's perfect that Gervon Dexter reached out to guys like Jalen Johnson and Montez Sweat, because those guys have always been in outstanding shape. They know that they're able to play for a full 4 quarters, but they put in the work in the offseason. So when they get to the regular season, it's nothing. So I absolutely love that Gervon Dexter reached out to those guys, and those guys were willing to show that leadership to Gervon Dexter and really have him come back in outstanding shape. Overall, Bears fans, I'm excited about Gervon Dexter. I'm excited about year 2 and what this can mean for the Chicago Bears defensive line and the Chicago Bears defense as a whole. I think Gervon Dexter is really going to tear it up. With Justin Jones now gone and off the team, Gervon Dexter now can inherit that starting 3 technique role. And I think he's going to do an outstanding job. Of course, once again, he's coming into year 2. He came back in the best shape of his life. And we already know that he has the physical tools to be an absolute problem for opposing offensive lines. So I'm really excited to see Gervon Dexter in year 2 with the Chicago Bears defense. And of course, Bears fans, he's going to come back at training camp and continue to stack these good practices. I think he's going to be even in better shape after this little 5-week break prior to the start of training camp for the Chicago Bears. I think it's going to be a really good year for Gervon Dexter. So Bears fans, before I let you guys go, what are your expectations for a guy like Gervon Dexter going into year 2 with the Chicago Bears defense? Let me know down below in the comment section. But as always, make sure you continue to hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Keek on the Mic with every single Bears that you know. But other than that, be back for our all-new Bears podcast right here on Keek on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and as always, bear down.
You've been listening to Keek on the Mic, a podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Thanks, guys, and bear down.